Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. And on this episode, we are going to talk about all Tesla. Last episode, we talked about our other EV news. Today is just going to be Tesla news. I do want to let you know, yet again, that Rob and I were on the Daily Tech News Show. Their experiment week, we did a show of Beyond the Post, which is about digital creation. If you're interested in that kind of thing, I'll put a link in the show notes. I'm really proud of that episode. And if you like it or don't like it, send some feedback to the Daily Tech News Show and let them know what you thought. Also, you should subscribe to the Daily Tech News Show. It's good. It's a good show. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our Tesla news. Starting off, let me increase the font because I'm getting old. We're going to start off with some follow-up. We talked about Tesla removing the rear-wheel drive version of the Cybertruck, the much more affordable $60-some thousand version, and leaving the Foundation and the Cyber Beast. Well, Tesla Cybertruck lead engineer Wes Morrill, he gave us some context as to why they did that. And this is what he said. Our continued goal is to make it extremely easy to order. It was overly complicated, and it has been simplified based on what we are producing today. Now, my question to that is overly complicated for who? Tesla or the consumer? I would guess it was overly complicated for Tesla. Having said that, I do think that Tesla will add more affordable versions of the Cybertruck back into the lineup. And when I say more affordable, I don't mean like affordable for everybody. I just mean cheaper than $100,000. We have one more bit of follow-up. We talked recently about Tesla bundling full self-driving, the connectivity plan, and unlimited supercharging together for 3 years. It cost $5,000. If you bought a Model S or Model X, you could add this bundle to it. It didn't have an official name when we talked about it initially, but it does now. It's called Drive Anywhere. So just so you're aware, in the future, when we talk about the Drive Anywhere bundle, that is what we're talking about. All right, let's move on to some new news. You're a fan of the New Heights podcast? I am. I like Jason and Travis Kelce. Anyway, this is new Tesla news. Tesla is recalling 9,136 Model X's from the 2016 model year. The problem is there's a roof trim piece that can separate and could cause an accident. We don't know if it would cause an accident. This is actually a physical recall, which is why I'm mentioning it here. I stopped talking about recalls that Tesla was issuing that were software updates. That's not a recall. That's a software update. But this is an actual physical recall that you have to go in and have replaced. So you have to go into a service center to get that done. I know at least one of our Canadian listeners has a Model X from around this time frame. Can't quite remember which year it is. But yeah, that's another reason to mention it as well. Unrelated to this, I'm going to give you a podcast to listen to. Go listen to True North EVs. That's James's podcast. It is fantastic. And don't let the fact that he hasn't posted in a while deter you. He has a back catalog that is well worth listening to. And I know for a fact that James is very busy. So go subscribe, listen to the past episodes, and when he comes out with a new episode, you will be blessed with a new episode. Highly recommend James's podcast. All right, and I'll try to remember to put a link in the show notes. Moving on, the city of Baltimore has decided to buy Teslas for their employee fleet. So right now, the city of Baltimore has approved up to a $5 million purchase, which is approximately 147 EVs. Honestly, don't know if this is a lot of vehicles for a city the size of Baltimore or not, but $5 million is $5 million. I'm not going to say no to it for sure. Now, the city of Baltimore may want to listen up on this next story because some Tesla owners are very unhappy about the long wait times for service. In some cases, it can take as long as 2 months to get your car taken care of if there is something wrong with it. And I'm not saying that's every case, that's just some people's experience. But I'm going to bring this back to this summer. Do you remember when Tesla laid off 20,000 employees? According to Electrek, one of the impacted divisions was service. Now, I'm not saying that this is the reason for the delay. That it could be parts, it could be, labor. They may not have enough people to work on the cars. I don't know. But if it is the case that this problem is happening because of the layoffs, that's not good. But what is good is Tesla is bringing the referral program back. In April, they decided to put it into the program or put a pause on the program. They've done this several times over the last 10 or so years. This version of the referral program, in my opinion, is the simplest yet. The way it works is if someone uses your referral code to buy a Model S, a Model X, a Model 3, or a Model Y, no Cybertruck or Tesla Semi, but if they use your referral code to get one of those 4 vehicles, they're gonna get $1,000 off their vehicle, and you're gonna get $500 that you could apply to any Tesla product. So it sounds like that includes, like, power walls, vehicles, home chargers, coffee mugs, whatever you want. You get $500 and you can apply it towards that product. Which, I'm not sure if this is the most generous referral program Tesla's offered to this point, but it is definitely the easiest. I don't like it when companies use points because you don't really know what the value of a point is. I don't like it when Tesla's giving away like free supercharging because that eventually will expire. At least if you get $500 applied to your Tesla account and you know that it's going to expire at some point, you can make sure to spend it before it expires. If you have supercharger, it's just harder to use those supercharger miles, especially if you have a lot of them. And when they expire, you really felt like you did something and got nothing out of it. So I think this is overall a better solution. Is it the most generous one? I don't think so, but it's a better solution. All right. Tesla semis have been seen in Europe. And when I say Tesla semis, I mean 2 Tesla semis were delivered to Giga Berlin, and some people in Germany took pictures of them while they're on the transport vehicles. We don't know why they're there specifically. I'm sure that Tesla wants to start doing some testing of the Tesla Semi in Europe, but I'm sure we'll find out in due time what exactly they're doing there. And one more Tesla Semi story. A Tesla Semi with a bunch of data collection devices that were typically used for FSD testing was spotted just outside of Giga, Nevada. This has led some to speculate that Tesla is testing full self driving on Tesla Semi, which honestly makes a ton of sense. In my head, I figured that, from the moment that Tesla announced the Tesla Semi, they were on some level testing full self-driving. Like whoever can solve level 5 autonomy for the trucking industry is just going to make boatloads and boatloads of money. So this totally makes sense. And I wouldn't be surprised if they've been testing this for longer than just a couple of weeks. It just makes sense that they've been doing this for a long time. Let's move on. Sticking with full self driving, Tesla has started rolling out full self driving 12.5 on hardware 3 equipped vehicles. Although I did see in some of the not documentation, in the communications from Tesla that they were calling them AI 3 and AI 4 vehicles. So maybe they have hardware 3 and hardware 4 vehicles are now called AI 3 and AI 4. I have not seen that prior to today when I read that the first time. Anyway, we have talked about full self driving 12.5 coming out on hardware 3 vehicles. It was a little delayed. Initially, Elon said it would come out 10 days after FSD 12.5 came out for hardware 4 vehicles or AI 4 vehicles, but turns out it was a little bit longer than 10 days. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head. I think it was somewhere around 30 days, but it doesn't matter. It took them a little bit longer to figure out how to get 12.5 on hardware 3 vehicles. And we have a little bit of insight as to why. Tesla's director of autopilot software, Ashok Alaswamy, gave us a little bit insight as to what took so long. He says on Twitter or on X, he says, we were able to achieve similar performance as the AI4 12.5 release with a relatively smaller model for AI3. Deploying the larger model requires us to implement a few kernels in the compiler to emulate the same operations that are natively supported on the AI4 hardware. The team is actively working on implementing and verifying those operations. Combined with other model compression techniques, we think we can run on the same 12.5 model on both, or excuse me, we think we can run the same 12.5 model on both hardware platforms in the future. That said, the model perimeter count is just one of the many axes of performance improvements. Data set distribution, data set quality, model architecture, training compute, etc., all have tremendous impact on final performance. And honestly, I think this is awesome. I love that Tesla's trying to have parity between AI3 and AI4 equipped vehicles, or hardware 3, hardware 4, however we want to use that term going forward. And I do have thoughts on this, but I'm going to be very mature in this situation. And I'm not going to talk about Elon's 2016 promise of every vehicle being built after it was like October 2016 would have level 5 autonomy. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about, the fact that we're pushing up against the technical limits of hardware 3 because I'm going to remain positive. But I am curious as to what you think. So you can email me, Bodie, Bodie, at 918digital.com and tell me what you think about that. I'll let you tell me. I'm not going to tell you. Anyway, let's move on to our final story, which is just this little quick blurb here that I tagged on at the end. The Cybertruck is getting the Vision Park Assist feature, which gives you a 3D representation of the world around you when you're trying to park your car. Honestly, it's one of my favorite features. As much as we complain about the delay in 12.5 for hardware 3 vehicles, Cybertruck's really far behind in the full self-driving realm, but Tesla will do it. As much criticism as I have for Tesla, because I have a lot of love for Tesla too. So my love for Tesla is far outweighs my criticism that I have for Tesla. They tend to do what they're going to say, just not in the time frame they're going to do it, or for the amount of money that they said they would do it for. But it does tend to get done. All right, everybody, this is a short episode, so I'm going to leave it here. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I did. We had lots of people in town visiting and hanging out, which is why this is getting released on Sunday instead of Saturday. But now I have to record the Rivian episode that's going to go out on Tuesday. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. I will talk to you on Tuesday. We'll talk to you soon.